Sonic
Lab
TV.
I'm here with Dave Spears from GForce Software, who you may well recognise from our weekly podcast. He's a regular guest on that. Dave and the GForce team are just about to release the new M-Tron Pro. Is that right?
It is, yes. After months and months and months and months of waiting.
And what's the kind of general idea behind it? You're increasing the amount of sounds, changing the synth engine. What's the sort of... Give us the scoop.
All of the above, really. Increase the sounds massively. 2 layers, very much kind of based on the VSM, the String Machine engine, but with quite a few tweaks. Looped and unlooped sounds from Byrotrons, Octagons, all sorts of stuff. Right, okay, well that's brilliant. Let's have a look at it then. This is the M-Tron Pro as it stands. What's this? Is this the audio units version?
This is actually the standalone version.
Okay, right. And it looks bigger. It's got a bigger box.
It's bigger in every capacity. We like the bigger box idea because obviously you can put your ashtray on the top and your coffee cup, and but there are no stains this time. But if we open the lid, voila.
Ah, okay. That looks very VSM, or Virtual String Machine, which is your string emulator, string machine emulator. It's got quite a lot of similarities. Is that a fair comparison?
Yes, completely fair. One of the reasons that VSM took so long is we wanted to make it as robust as possible, because we always had in mind an idea to update the original Tron and just make it kind of bigger in every way. There are quite a few differences. First of all, instead of the phaser, we've got a delay. We've still kept the ensemble because most people really like that. And then there are a few kind of subtle differences under the hood.
Right, okay. But essentially, it allows you to layer up an A and a B, or split, depending on how you want to do it, and feed them through the filters and the envelopes and all of the things that the Virtual String Machine had, the String Machine engine, essentially.
Yes.
Just talk me through the basic sort of blocks of this synth engine.
So, I mean, essentially, like we said, you've got your 2 layers. So you select your sample in layer A. You can detune it, pan it left and right. There's independent level. There's a couple of things that are different with VSM in that there's a half-speed tape mode for each layer, and also a tape reverse, because I really like the idea of, reversing a tape bank, as it were. So effectively, you can have one layer that was playing at, normal linear mode, and then another layer that was reversed, and that can lead to some really excellent sounds. When you reverse the tape, obviously because of the way the sound tails off, it helps if you can adjust the start time of the sample. So over here on the left, we've got an attack start time, and that gives a couple of seconds, as it were. You can ramp that in earlier.
Okay.
You can solo each layer. There's just a solo button here, so you can make your edits in isolation and then link the 2 together. There is a link mode, so any adjustments that you make, that turns the screen blue. So any adjustments you make to one layer will automatically take effect on the other layer. From there you go into an LFO, which is just a pitch LFO. You can sync that. And then, like we said, the filter, which is a resonant filter, low pass, high pass, and band pass, and then a filter envelope. Then you've got your amplitude envelope, which is fairly straightforward. You've got velocity sensitivity and also filter, velocity to filter, and then an aftertouch section, and then you move into the delays, left and right independent, and with a crossfeed, which is quite nice, and then the ensemble. So it's really quite straightforward.
So it works in the same way as the VSM, in that you click on the red one, all the controls go red, and that's what you're currently affecting, and green, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So and what about the sound banks, and what does it come with in terms of sound?
There's something like over 200 tape banks now. We've increased it massively from the Tron, which I think ended up at about 103. Now, some of these are doubled up because some people asked us, if we could have looped samples. And we're reasonably anti this ourselves, because we really like this 8-second limitation, because it really does force the music to breathe. However, there are certain things that should be looped. For example, we've included a load of octagon samples, and they should be looped. And then obviously we kind of took some of our favourite sounds as well, and decided to loop those, just a kind of bog standard choirs and strings and stuff like that. So there is quite a big choice. Again, with the Byrotron worked on an 8-track principle, so that was a kind of infinite loop. So they've been looped. The philosophy was to try and, anything that should have been looped originally is looped, and then we've added a few more.
Where do you find all of these extra sound sets? Because, presumably they all come from tape-based instruments, and there must be a sort of finite amount. Have you exhausted that? Explain that process.
We haven't exhausted it completely yet, but we've got a very good source of Tron tapes. A German guy who actually, at one point, I think, owned 8 Trons. So we've licensed an awful lot of sounds from him. Obviously, we had the Byrotron ourselves, so we've recorded that. And also, we've got an Octagon with a load of records, load of those discs. And we've included some of those, not all of those. But yeah, it's a massive process, and it's always ongoing.
Okay, well, do you want to take me through a couple of the sounds that you think demonstrate the capabilities of the new Tron?
Yeah, I'll take you through a couple of things. The first thing here is I've got some Chamberlain harps. Layer A is completely linear, that's normal. Layer B is reversed, as you can see. This is kind of heavenly ethereal sound. Actually, I think that's used on a Honda advert in the UK at the minute.
Oh, really?
There's a huge selection of sounds. I think there's over 700 in here with people like Wakeman and a band called I Monster, who had a fantastic hit, Daydream in Blue, and they've been brilliant. They've come up with some really esoteric patches. The Octagon stuff, I think, is fantastic. So we have the Octagon bossa nova into layer A. In fact, I'll solo that so you can just hear that in isolation. It's a beautiful kind of old school tone. To a C minor. So you can build up the basis as something quite unique. And then if we take that out of solo, on layer B I've got a triple 8 choir here, which is looped. So we play the two together. So things like that I think are really, really neat. The remastered sounds are, and there's a huge amount again. All of the things that we remastered at Abbey Road are also looped, and that even includes the vibes, which technically we shouldn't have looped, but it kind of adds another dimension to the whole sound creation thing.
Sure. Just going back to the creation of the sounds, do you take a sort of hard? I know you've talked about the looping. Do you take a hard line when it comes to kind of how far do you loop? You allow them to be transposed before you say no, that's too far, it's too chipmunky or too distorted? Do you try and stay true to the original instrument, or do you extend the range of it?
No, we've kept to the 35 notes completely, again, because I think it's a really critical thing that, the music's allowed to breathe. And these restrictions are really good, actually, because they make you think about playing in a different way. For example, if you kind of play too high, then you've got to come up with a different inversion of that chord in order to make it work. And I really like that. There's no, we don't use any time stretching at all on this. Everything is, each individual note is relevant for each key.
Wow.
The library's about 3.5 gigs now.
Okay. So you won't be offering this as download, presumably. It's a physical copy only, right?
Yes. No download at all.
Okay. Any Easter eggs in this one?
We actually had a couple of people complain slightly about the VSM game, in that once they'd won, there were no other levels to go on to, and kind of failed to see it as the joke that it was. So we thought with this one we'd be eminently more sensible.
Right. Of course, in VSM there was it Breakout?
Yep.
And what's the availability? And this is coming out real soon, right?
The release date is the 23rd of October.
Are there any kind of breaks or deals for anybody who already own the M-tron?
It is a new instrument, but there is an upgrade path for all existing M-tron owners. Don't ask me to say exactly what that is at the minute, because I think we're still in the process of finalising it.
Okay.
But we'll try and keep it as reasonable as possible.
And what's have you fixed a price?
The retail price in dollars is $199.95, and that's the kind of recommended retail price. So you are going to see it on the street for less than that.
And that's for AU, VST. What formats?
Audio units, RTAS, VST, and standalone.
And that's both Mac and PC, right?
Yes.
Dave, thank you very much for that sort of first look at the M-tron Pro. I wish you the best of luck with it. It sounds like it's going to be a good one for you. So we're going to see it in the shops real soon.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much.